Imagine it's the late 19th century. A vast, diverse continent, rich in resources and culture, is about to have its fate decided by a handful of men thousands of miles away. This isn't a movie plot. It's the real story of how Africa was carved up. Let's uncover the secret deals that changed the continent forever. Before the 1880s, European presence in Africa was mostly limited to coastal trading posts. The interior was a complex tapestry of powerful empires, thriving kingdoms, and independent communities. But something was about to shift dramatically. The Industrial Revolution in Europe created a massive hunger for raw materials like rubber, diamonds, and palm oil. Africa had them in abundance. This, combined with a fierce sense of national pride and rivalry, sparked what we now call the Scramble for Africa. The turning point was the Berlin Conference of 1884, convened by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. Representatives from 14 European nations and the United States gathered in Berlin. Here's the most shocking part: not a single African leader was invited, not one. The entire conference was about them, but not for them. Over 3 months, these men drew lines on a map, creating borders that completely ignored existing ethnic, linguistic, and political boundaries. They were essentially playing a high-stakes game of Monopoly, but with millions of human lives and ancient cultures as the board pieces. The conference established a principle called effective occupation. This meant a European power could claim a territory if they could prove they controlled it. This set off a frantic race. Explorers, missionaries, and soldiers were sent deep into the continent to establish forts and sign treaties. But what were these treaties? Often, they were completely deceptive. African chiefs, many of whom couldn't read the European languages, were tricked into signing away their land and sovereignty, sometimes for a few bottles of gin or some cheap trinkets. They thought they were agreeing to trade partnerships, but in reality, they were signing over their entire future. Let's look at King Leopold II of Belgium. He played a masterful, yet horrifying game. He convinced the world he was on a humanitarian mission in the Congo, promising to end the slave trade and bring civilization. He established a personal colony, the Congo Free State, which was nearly 80 times the size of Belgium, but his rule was anything but humanitarian. It was a brutal regime of forced labor, primarily for rubber. Millions of Congolese people suffered and died under his reign. This wasn't just colonialism, it was exploitation on an unimaginable scale, all hidden behind a veil of philanthropy. From the French in West Africa to the British in the East and South, similar stories unfolded. Straight lines were drawn across the map, splitting communities like the U and the Maasai into different colonies. These artificial borders are the root of many of the conflicts and political instabilities that have affected Africa. For the last century, people who had lived together for generations were suddenly citizens of different, often rival, European-controlled states. By 1914, about 90% of Africa was under European control. In just a few decades, a handful of secret handshakes and backroom deals in Europe redrew the map of an entire continent. The legacy of this division is complex and felt to this day. But understanding this history is crucial. It's not just about a past injustice, it's about understanding the world we live in now and the forces that shaped it. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating and important as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.